This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. And folks, here we are, July the 26th, 2022. And you know what? I got very lucky with a guest tonight because, well, everybody else was heading into town for a last night. You know, this guy had to stay behind and watch him over the camp because, well, he had to listen to his girlfriend and because he didn't want to be a chicken shit. So he decided, well, kill some time talking to me.
And not only that, but I gave him my truck.
At least it survived the movie.
Which I never saw again.
Folks, he's in Dress to Kill, one of my favorite thrillers ever. He's in Friday the 13th Part 2 as somebody who really should not listen to their significant other. And he's in Switching Channels with Burt Reynolds and Kathleen Turner. Folks, I give you the awesome Jeffrey himself, Bill Randolph. How you do, Bill?
I'm very good, very good. Very happy to be here.
You know what? It's funny because I've had you on Facebook for the longest time. I've reached out to you one or two times before. We finally crossed channels.
Well, now, and this is a confession. Essentially, even though I'm on Facebook, and unfortunately, it didn't separate my, personal Facebook from my Friday the 13th Facebook. So it's become much more of a fan Facebook than anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't go on that much. And so it's kind of happenstance that I finally got the message that you wanted to do a podcast because it was like, oh, okay. And it's one of those deals where, you hit the messages and you hit the two, boxes, whatever they are.
Yeah.
And one of them has about the latest 5, and then it has 7,822 messages that you've never looked at or answered.
Well, tell Marta to save her stuff. Don't let her message you 587 times.
Yeah, really.
To go to Camp
I know
Blood.
that's right. She keeps on getting back to me, and it's like, okay, enough's enough. Just let it go.
Well, listen, before we start, I mean, what kind of cleaner you got to use for that bed behind you? Because, I mean, that's a mess. Will Mr. Clean be able to fix that?
Well, I don't know, but it certainly does stink. After 40 years, man, if I lifted up the sheets, the stuff that's growing there, forget it.
Well, I got to say, actually, before we get into the films, I would like to get a little bit of your background and what led you to get into the arts.
I happen to be very lucky in high school.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a freshman in high school, and the only thing I remember about Mrs. Froelich, who was my, world geography teacher or whatever, was that she said one day in class, they're having auditions for George M. Go audition. Who knows? It might change your life. And that's exactly what it did. I happened to audition for this production, and the theater department at my high school was extraordinary. Instead of just doing senior project every year, they just did play after play after play, and the plays would run 3 weeks, which was unheard of in high school. We would do, and it wasn't a full 3 weeks. It was probably Thursday through Sunday. But even so, it was at least 12 performances for each show that we did. And I just got hooked, line and sinker, and I never let go.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very lucky that because because of that, I went to Allen Hancock College, which became PCPA,
Mm.
and the theater people will know about that. And then at PCPA, was told I actually met Joe Van Fleet, who was married to Bill Bales, who was the head of the dance department at SUNY Purchase.
Okay.
And so I heard through him, through her, through my my high school theater director Tom McKenzie, that they were having auditions in San Francisco for SUNY Purchase. So I went, I auditioned, I got in. That got me to New York. I graduated from SUNY Purchase. I moved into the city, and was waiting on tables for a couple of years, and then did a play called Gemini, which was running on Broadway at the time at the Little Theater, which became the Helen Hayes Theater, at Arena Stage. And so I did it at Arena Stage, and of course, I think it was the first production outside of Broadway. And Albert Inurato, who was the writer of the play, he and kind of the whole New York cast came to DC and watched our production. And when Reed Birney, who originated the role of Randy Hastings in Gemini, left the Broadway show, they asked me if I wanted to do it. I said, yeah, well, I don't know. Let me think about it. Sure. Okay. And that was kind of the beginning of my theatrical career in New York. And because of that, of course, casting directors in New York, they always go to Broadway shows and see people. And I met Meg Simon, Fran Cumin, who had a casting agency, and they were casting Friday the 13th Part 2. And so, they called me in. I met with Steve Miner. And
they asked you if you had a truck you were willing to give up.
I have a story about the truck too. But the thing that's funny about the audition was that I was at the, kind of the final audition with Steve Miner, and he was pairing us up with different Sandras. Jeff and Sandras were going in together. And this young lady that I went in with, and I do not remember her name, but she was just bouncing off the wall. She just was. I finally looked over at Steve and I said, "Are you kidding?" Talking about how she was bouncing off the wall. And he looked at me and laughed. I'm sure that's why I got the part right then and there, because we both agreed that this girl that was auditioning for Sandra was on another planet. So that's how I got into Friday the 13th. And it was fantastic. We had a great time.
Let's go back to Gemini, because we have a mutual I shouldn't say acquaintance, but I've interviewed Steven Singer recently from Miss 45, and
oh man,
and he brought you up. I love Miss 45, and that came out, I think, just a couple weeks before Friday the 13th Part 2.
Oh yeah. It was the same time period. Yeah.
Yeah, like
And Steve is not on screen very much, but he's just perfectly sleazy.
I love him. I told him, I said, you got that Howard Stern hairdo going on there. But I was so honored to make that connection and have him on here too. And but he brought your name up, and I mentioned that he had worked on a play with you. So love Steven Singer, love Miss 45,
and not only that, but both Steve and I became very good friends with Wayne Knight. And there was a bar on 44th Street, because the theater was on 44th Street. There was a 44th Street between Broadway and 8th Avenue. And on 8th Avenue and 46th Street, oh God, now of course, I can't remember the name of the bar, but we would go there every night, and it was more or less a crew bar. So a lot of the Broadway crews would sit in the front, and Peg owned the place. And nobody was in the back room. So we took over the back room, and I must have spent hundreds of hours in that back room after the show every night. So yeah, Steve is a dear friend, and Wayne is a dear friend too. So in fact, Wayne Knight Newman, in case people don't know, and he'll hate
Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah, Jurassic Park. He'll hate me for saying this, but everybody, and it's kind of one of those good things, bad things, where everybody recognizes him as Newman. It's a very odd cross to bear. But he was best man at my wedding, so that's how good friends we are.
So he didn't get to bring any of that stuff from Jurassic Park. He spilt that out of the car, and I heard he was taking that for you for your wedding gift.
Oh man. Now that would have been a wedding gift. I could have sold that for a fortune.
But instead,
yeah, really. I can't even remember what he gave me. And my wife, Therese Capusilli, who, in her own right, is a world-class dancer, so, and teaches at Juilliard.
Yeah, I actually interviewed one of the actresses from Fame who teaches ballet in New York.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Antonia Franceschi.
Oh yeah.
I've had her on a couple times. She's still gorgeous,
Well, that's the thing about dancers, man.
Mm-hmm.
They stay in shape.
What about you? You stay in shape?
God, no.
After doing all that hiking across the camp?
No, yeah, it's funny because it's like, no, I've never had the discipline that Terry has as a dancer.
So Tom McBride did not encourage you with, hey, ladies are slowing you
up.
Let
me tell you, that guy, he was absolutely gorgeous, let me tell you. And the thing is that it must have been very ironic to him to be in a wheelchair, because he was in the best shape. Russell Todd was also in great shape, and John Fury was in great shape, and everybody was in better shape than me.
Well, before we talk about Friday the 13th Part 2, I gotta say, this was my favorite horror film of 1980. And as much as I love The Shining, and it probably takes top cake for most people, Dressed to Kill is my favorite horror film of 1980. And I got the Criterion as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder whose legs those were.
Nancy says they weren't hers, but I'm not.
No,
I'm not buying that.
The thing is, it doesn't matter whether they were or not. She had great legs. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Or has great legs. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Here's my story with Dressed to Kill. I had Brandon Magar on, who of course was what was it, Jeff from Out of Town or something like that. And of course, he was of course the Killer Santa in Christmas Evil. And
wow. Okay.
Yeah, I've had him on here a couple times and love him. And he connected me with Nancy Allen. And of course, I've also had George Leto's daughter on here in tribute. And she was good friends with Nancy.
Oh, yeah.
It took me 5 years to get Nancy Allen on here.
That kind of surprises me because she is just I haven't had as much pleasure as I would like, but every once in a while we run into each other at a convention. She is just, she's just amazing. She's just so sweet and so generous.
Well, I tried every way to get hold of her, and of course, when you're at that level, it's kind of hard. But what had happened, I
Oh, yeah,
discovered that I think I discovered this through George Leto's daughter that she does a cancer charity in honor of Wendy Jo Sperber, who had
sure,
passed.
of course, yeah. Wendy Jo and actually, and this is how I first met Nancy Allen, is
Hmm.
that Wendy Jo and I both did a film called The First Time, um, directed by Charlie Leventhal,
Hmm.
and Nancy and Brian was like the executive producer on that, up at Sarah Lawrence. And when I auditioned for The First Time, Brian and Nancy were there. And so when the part came up in Dress to Kill, basically Brian just called up, or his casting person just called up my agent and just said, is Bill available? So I love them for that. The
Hmm.
fact that one, and the thing is that and this is a secret. They're boys and girls who want to be actors and actresses. Network. The network will get you more work, and any people that you can get in your corner. And even like as you're saying, different people who have said, "Well, yeah, I spoke to so and so, and they mentioned you and Bubba, and like Steve Singer and everything." It's like those. That's how you get work. You get work from other people. You don't necessarily get work because even if somebody really loves you for a project, they're going to check with other people that have worked with you to find out whether you're legit. So it's very important to keep that social connection
So you wait.
alive.
So John Fury obviously is not a reference because he would tell everybody that you left camp.
Now, the thing is that there's a thin line between fiction and reality here.
Well, anyway, of course, Nancy does is an executive on We Spark Cancer, and I
Yeah,
made a
yeah,
donation to that, a nice
yeah.
donation, and Nancy got wind of that, and that was
Oh,
how I got her on, and she couldn't have been any nicer, and I'm hoping to get her back on. We'll see. I know she's busy for 39 years old, and
yeah, right. Yeah, she and Jack Benny.
oh my good, she's still got the hair. She's still got the
Oof.
Dress to Kill hair, and
And the legs.
yeah. I didn't see them on here, mind you, but she did have a Dress to Kill poster behind her, and I love this film. I just think it's so
Yeah,
stylish, and it's like even like there's a lot of places where Pino Donaggio, the person doing the music in it, tells entire scenes just
yeah.
with music, like
Oh,
the
absolutely. Yeah.
museum sequence, the
And
sanitarium
certainly,
sequence.
and that has so much to do with Brian too.
Yeah,
I mean, he really was a master storyteller,
I
or
love this
is
film.
a master storyteller.
And the shower sequences, two of them, and the music. I love this film.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. And of course, you would have to drive a cab after losing your truck. So even though this film was shot first still.
Uh, yes, yeah, yeah. Uh, In fact, the hat that I wear in Dress to Kill is the same hat that I wear in Friday the 13th Part 2.
Well, one thing I asked Nancy when I had her on, I said, "Did you took a rain check on that dinner date? Did it ever happen?"
And that's the thing. It's like, okay, what an opening for at least one more scene in the goddamn film. I mean, come on. You can't have us get together, later on. Come on.
Yeah, you even opened the door up on that
Yeah,
pursuer.
I know.
Well, excuse me,
And
early Steve Martin.
yes, exactly. And okay, two stories about that.
Okay.
Number one, um, Brian hated the way I did Excuse Me.
Oh.
In fact, we had a looping session, you know, months later when they're in post production, and perhaps if I had been a better actor, I would have picked up the cues. But he was desperately trying me to give another reading on that wasn't, AKA Steve Martin. Um, and maybe that's why I never worked for him again, because I did not deliver. And even now, when I look at it and I think about that, I think about the night that we did shoot, because he gave me 20, 30 retakes on that. And he's a very, kind of indirect director, in the sense that I'm sure he was giving me clues and hints, and I'm sure just waiting for something spontaneous. And unfortunately, that line, as far as I'm concerned, as an actor, is not spontaneous. It's just it's very kind of predictable in some ways. And Brian gave me every chance in the world to make it something different and more unique, and I never delivered. So that's why I now work in insurance.
Insurance for camp?
Yeah,
Yeah, for
right.
camp
Yes,
massacres.
death. That's right. Death insurance. That's right. I sell universal life policies for camp counselors.
There you go. Well, you know what? I love Dress to Kill. I can't say that enough. And you get to work with Brian De Palma, of course,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
yeah, and you get to work with the beautiful Nancy Allen, who I
Yeah.
gotta say, I said this to her. I said she did two things in that film that turned me on, and not
Yes.
one, and
Only
not,
two. Yeah.
well, you
Okay.
know what? Two things. I mean, yes, she shows up there and she's in her lingerie and whatnot, but that's not what I was referring to. And she was quite surprised at what I was going to tell her.
Yeah.
I said, number one, I said, I love that scene where you're running through the subway with your little blue featherly thing on there, and you leap over the subway barrier thing there. I said, I love that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that. And of course, you get a good
Yeah.
shot of her legs there.
Yeah.
And
So, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
and the second thing she did that turned me on, and she laughed at this. I said to her, I said, "You're in the police station with Dennis Franz," and
Right.
he's grilling her. And
Right.
he says to her, he goes, "Okay, who are you fucking?" And she gets that look on her face and she goes, "Fuck you." And
Yeah.
I said to her, I said, "I get goosebumps. I get turned on every time that. Nobody has ever said fuck you any sexier than she has."
Ah,
And she thought that was funny, you know?
yeah.
Yes, it doesn't
S-
hurt to see the lingerie scenes, but those two sequences, so she didn't have to do a whole lot for the swearing scene, but man, that look on her eyes, like, oh my goodness.
Okay, back to the lingerie.
Hmm.
It just so happened that I had my costume fitting the same day that Nancy was there, trying on different lingerie.
You weren't trying it on, were you?
I was not trying it on, but let me tell you, she was. And I was right there, and my appointment was maybe 15 minutes. I stayed there for a good hour, just staying with, talking to Nancy and watching her try on all this unbelievable lingerie. I mean, she, you know, you know, and thank God, in some ways, she was at the time married to Brian De Palma, because it was like, no, Bill, back off, back off, back off. Do not touch that. That is forbidden fruit. You don't touch the director's wife.
Oh my God. How to avoid that temptation?
Ha ha ha.
Oh my goodness.
And the thing was, is not only was she as gorgeous as she was, she is just she is such a genuine human being that it's irresistible. I mean, I don't know how Brian let that go. And I have no idea, in terms of, what happened or didn't happen in terms of their relationship.
I don't either.
But you know, she is an
She's
amazing human being.
she
So,
still looks good. I love the
oh,
hair. I gotta say, she's got that. I love the hair she had in Dress to Kill and Carrie and whatnot. I mean, yeah. But
so another a Michael Caine story.
oh, nice.
Of course, unfortunately, or whatever, I worked exclusively with Nancy on that film and didn't even get to meet Michael
I'll
Caine.
be frank with you. If I had choice to work with somebody from that movie, it'd probably be Nancy Allen. So I gotta say, you hit the jackpot as far
I
as I'm
did,
concerned.
I did hit the jackpot, but
Yep.
you had mentioned switching channels.
Yep.
Uh, Michael Caine was supposed to play that role that Burt Reynolds finally took. In fact, we were in Montreal and Toronto, filming around everything we possibly could without that lead male character, because Michael Caine was supposed to do that film, but he was stuck in doing Jaws 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever
Oh
it
my
was.
goodness. I bet you're proud of that.
Yeah, because the shark would not work. And so we lost out and ended up with Burt Reynolds instead of Michael Caine, which was a huge disappointment, um, um, kind of for everybody, because everybody was really looking forward to, working with, Michael Caine is just, he's such a master. And not only that, but the combination of Michael and Kathleen and Chris Reeves, it would have been spectacular. It would have been spectacular. And Ted Kotcheff, who was the director on that, he essentially wanted to do film with multiple cameras, entire scenes. He wanted to do like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pages at a time. And certainly that is not Burt Reynolds' style. Basically Burt Reynolds goes from bit to bit. And so it broke up the filming schedule, or the filming, what we would do. We would basically go from bit to bit. And it changed the flow of the entire shooting day. And fortunately, Kathleen and I had worked on Gemini together, so she knew that I would love to just go, shoot like 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes at once and just do a scene as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to go from joke to joke to joke because I didn't have any jokes.
Well, speaking of Michael Caine, we talked about how nice Nancy Allen's legs were. How nice was Michael Caine's legs? You do get a good look at them at part time in there and Dress to Kill.
Not me. Not me. I was nowhere near them. But the thing is that that was the thing that is fantastic. Which is rarer, and more rarer. I don't know what is correct. Um, Location shooting.
Mm-hmm.
That entire film was done on location in New York City. And even though it may seem insignificant, the stuff that Nancy and I did in the cab was
Mm-hmm.
not against a green screen or anything. We were in the cab and we were being towed by the camera crew. So the camera was on the hood filming our scene as we were driving the route that we're supposed to take in the film. So when we ended up at Columbus Circle, we were at Columbus Circle. So that was really fun. That was really cool.
I don't have a passport, but if I ever do, one of the things I would want to do is go to New York, and I'd like to see the locations for Dress to Kill and Miss 45. Those would be two movies I'd want to see locations for.
Now, you don't have a passport. What the hell does that mean?
I just never got. You know what? I just turned 50. It
Yeah, well, I
wasn't.
won't tell you how old I am.
No, Stu already told me that. No, no,
Oh, okay.
I wasn't talking to Stu. But nonetheless, I lived here my entire life here in New Brunswick, Canada.
Yeah.
And I would get homesick just going from Fredericton to St. John or Moncton, their two closest cities. And what had happened is in 2017, Lisa Langlois from a movie called Class of 1984
Yeah.
had invited, she got talking to me about travel because
Yes.
she just moved back from Los Angeles to Toronto, and she
Yeah.
invited me to assist her at her table at Horrorama in Toronto, and I couldn't say no.
Absolutely, man. Toronto's a great city.
I fell in love with it. In fact, it's what's weird is I didn't want to come home.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And I'm going
Well,
there twice this October, and I'm assisting her at one of the cons.
oh, how wonderful. That
Yeah,
sounds like fun.
actually, I got a birthday card from Lisa. Um, for my birthday, July 8th, I turned 50. So Lisa and I have stayed in touch, and she wants to come on here again. Yeah, but every time I go to Toronto, she and I connect. She's actually, funny enough, she's actually a reference on my resume because I assisted her at that con, and so she knows me both as a friend and from a business standpoint too. Like
Yeah,
she
yeah.
taught me so much, and I fell in love with the cons, which we'll get into a little later about that. But
They are fantastic. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, I got the bug, let me tell you. And it
yeah.
was my first time on a plane. I'm the only one in my family who's been on a plane. And actually just it's like a bus in the sky.
Now, how, where the, I know that that you live, a little bit east of me, up in
Yeah.
Canada or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But what, they have no buses, no planes, no trains. I mean, what's the problem? Why don't you go anywhere?
I always get homesick until
Yeah,
Toronto.
but that's what's so great about it. is that you go away, you get homesick, and then you're very happy when you come back.
You know what? I'm actually thinking about possibly in the future moving to Toronto because I
Oh,
got a good
Toronto's
job.
great. Yeah.
I got a job right now. I work as a cleaner,
Okay.
and I work as a cleaner at the hospital here. I
Okay.
do a lot of COVID cleaning and stuff,
Okay.
and it's good money, and I bet you it'd be even better money in Toronto. But if I get a
I bet
job
you,
like that,
you could get that job anywhere. They'd be begging for you to come.
yeah. So I'm thinking about that because Lisa has taught me a lot about the subway routes and how to navigate the subways. She taught me
Yeah.
all that. And speaking of which, Dress to Kill had a subway in it, and I think about that
Oh
whenever I'm
yeah, and
on
the
the.
thing is that everybody uses the same subway. No matter where they're filming in the subway in New York City, it's always the shuttle from Times Square to Grand Central. It's always, and they always, kind of, change the signs and do whatever to try and fake it to be somewhere else. But anybody who lives in New York City says, "Oh yeah, okay, that's the shuttle. Who cares?"
But I love it, and so I say baby steps. I just started going to Toronto, but yeah, I'll probably eventually get to the States now that knock on wood, certain people are out of office, and I won't get
Oh
into
God.
politics.
Oh God.
I
Oh
won't get into
God.
politics, but
Or religion. God. Oh God.
you know what?
Sorry. And actually, I shouldn't use, God, oh God, so much. I should just say, oh my goodness. But
You know what? I
yeah.
come from a Christian household, and it's funny
And
because
so do I. Yeah.
well, The Passion of the Christ is bloodier than most horror films out there.
Willem Dafoe.
No, that was The Last Temptation of Christ. The Passion
Oh,
of the
okay.
Christ was Mel
Oh,
Gibson.
actually, I like The Last Temptation better, But anyway, go ahead.
But I still read from my Bible and stuff like that. But I think there's better ways. Like church to me has become too much of a money thing, and I'm like, the I say find a good charity. If you want to give your 10%, you're still pleasing God by giving to a charity. Find a good charity that helps your fellow man. Or in this case, Bill get a new truck.
Okay, so here's the story about the truck.
Okay.
So, you see that corner where we come up the street.
Mm-hmm.
We're right around the corner, and because that's where the shot starts. And we are waiting for this monster truck, which shows up on a flatbed. And they take it off the flatbed. They cannot start this thing to save their lives. This big truck will not start. Some guy, the truck that we actually used, he's driving by, kind of, look at these people. They're having a hard time with that big truck. So they wave him down, say, wait, stop, stop, stop. Can we use your truck? A few bucks in the hand. That is the truck that we used for the whole shoot. This guy that just happened to be driving by when we couldn't get this big truck that came off the flatbed and could not get started. And it actually was a much better truck because it was much more realistic, because the quote unquote big truck on the flatbed was so gigantic. The wheels were so gigantic. It would have been impossible to get in and out of the truck when we needed to. But the other one was much more manageable.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be perfect. And, who knows? I hope this guy made a nice chunk of change, because if he hadn't come by, they would have been stuck.
So did he flag him down, or did Marta Cobra step out there in her shorts?
Marta just dropped her top, and that would stop traffic anyway. I was very lucky, but both my wife and I were very lucky that we got to meet both Marta and Stu in New York City before I went up to start filming. And I tell you, I couldn't have been luckier because Marta, and actually I had no idea at the time that she was as young as she was, because nowadays I think it would be pretty tough to get the releases signed for a 16-year-old to be nude in bed with a man on film. And believe me, I was a man.
Yeah, keep telling yourself that.
Yeah, I know. That's what that's what my wife says every night. Keep telling yourself that, pal. But because she was kind of at this point in retrospect shockingly young, but incredibly mature at the same time. Stu and I had almost, kind of an instant friendship. We became friends in New York City before we went up to film. At I don't know whether she actually came and saw, Stu play, but all six of us, his girlfriend, her boyfriend, and Terry, who I'm actually still with.
When did you
After
and Terry I'm like, wow, you guys were married before Friday too, and you're still together. Congratulations. Hollywood could take notice of that.
we met each other at SUNY Purchase in 1973, and have not looked back since.
So you wouldn't have had a shot at Nancy Allen anyway. Director's wife,
Well,
but
yeah,
yes.
yeah. Don't tell my wife, but you know, fantasies, never stop, no matter how good the relationship is.
But wow, is your wife? I know you said she's a dancer. Did she act any?
My wife was a principal dancer with the Martha Graham Dance Company. Um, 6 months she got out of SUNY Purchase,
Mm-hmm.
and she was with the company for 26 years.
Mm-hmm.
She became co-artistic director of the company. And in 1984, in the New York Times, they said Therese Capucilli, who's my wife, she never took my last name,
Why?
because professionally, she needed to stay as Therese Capucilli, because in 1984, the New York Times said Therese Capucilli is the most dramatic dancer of the decade. So she is a major dance talent. And she still teaches at Juilliard. And, she's worked with, I can remember, the first time I saw her out of college, she was in the Graham Company, and the Graham Company was performing at the Metropolitan in New York City at Lincoln Center. And they were doing a full evening ballet called Clytemnestra.
Mm-hmm.
And Terry, and I have no idea whether anybody knows about Nureyev or Baryshnikov, but Terry was dancing with Nureyev that night in a pas de deux. And she had just gotten into the company. And I'm in the back of the orchestra standing room. And Terry comes on stage and has this pas de deux with Nureyev. And she just wipes him off the stage. And the hairs on the back of my head just went up. And I said, whoa, okay. She has always been a major talent in modern dance. And she did a ballet with Nureyev and Baryshnikov. Couldn't take your eyes off of her. So I always think, yeah. I'm an actor. Man, am I cool? But in terms of talent, she is so far beyond me that that's why we've been together for 40 some odd years.
That's awesome. 1973, I would have been 1 that year, so.
Yeah, it's hard to disguise how old I really am.
Well, didn't you say 39?
Yes, me and Jack Benny.
Yeah.
And of
Wow.
course, that Jack Benny reference, nobody remembers it anymore anyway. Only somebody as old as me would remember the Jack Benny reference. But Jack Benny always said, yes, I'm 39. So he was always 39.
Actually, I saw a shirt recently because I just turned 50 and the shirt said,
yeah, you're 50 in 12 days or something like
no,
that?
it said, you're not 50, you're 18 with, what is it? So many years experience or something like that. I can't do the math
18,
in my hair.
18 with 32 years of experience,
There you
right?
go. 32 years experience. And I'm like,
Absolutely.
but I take pride in it. I mean, I was born the same year that Godfather came out and Cabaret and What's Up Doc and really classy gems like Fritz the Cat, Pink Flamingos. I think Last Tango Paris. What were they doing the year
Oh
I
my
was born?
God, Last Tango in Paris. Wow.
It's like, what were they doing the year I was born? People were
Yeah.
really getting down, even the
Wow.
cartoons. But nonetheless, I'm going to tell you a Friday the 13th Part 2 story that I have.
Okay.
You see, because I was petrified of horror films growing up. Petrified. I did not like being scared.
Wow.
I definitely did not like seeing blood.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
funny because I worked at the hospital last night and I went into a room to clean and there was blood all over a table and I was like, I joked with the nurse. I said, "What, you Freddy Krueger, a patient in here or something?"
Did she even understand that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. But nonetheless, I just went about, did my thing. But I was scared of horror films. And like I
Wow.
said about the Bible, I'm a believer in good over evil.
Yes.
And that's going to come into play in this story too.
Well,
Because
yeah, that's understandable.
my I had an uncle that owned a video store from 1981 to 1988.
Oh my God.
And
Wow.
yeah, and we used to get free rentals. Well,
Oh,
my
wow.
cousins, being devious at the time, baited. Now, my older brother was totally fine with this. My younger brother and I, at that time, not so much anymore, uh, we're fine with it now because we're older. But at the
Yeah.
time, when we were young, we didn't want to watch stuff like this. And they baited us into watching Friday the 13th Part 2.
Oh my God. Now, I Which, of course,
remember,
only in my own defense, it's the best of the Friday the 13th series. But anyway, go ahead.
well, because I know none of us had seen Part 1 because the
Yeah.
tape at my uncle's store was busted or something. But I remember we saw Parts 2, 3, and 4
Yeah.
through that store. But Part 2, they were playing it.
Uh-huh.
And my first thought was, especially after seeing part one. Why did they have Adrienne King, who is stunning, in that friggin' overalls turtleneck in part two? I'll never understand that. She's beautiful, and I'm going to see her at Frightmare in the Falls, so I can tell her so. But I never got that. But nonetheless,
Now, just to say, Adrian, I think, is much better looking in part two than she was in part one.
well, you want me to tell you something? When
What?
I first saw part one,
Yeah.
my favorite shot in the film is that first time you see her on screen and they have that close-up shot of her smiling.
Yeah.
And because you don't see her smile in part two. And I'm like, yeah, she is girl next door beautiful in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
She
Yeah.
was my
Yeah.
second guest on here when I started this.
Wow.
Because when I started this podcast, I get sidetracked here, but when I started this podcast in 2015, my first guest was Tommy Wiseau from The Room.
Okay. Cool.
And it was like and I got that through a former acquaintance, but had it been just Tommy Wiseau, one and done fine, because I was just doing radio at the campus station here, and it was like, who else can I do this with? And I just thought about some of the women I had crushes on growing up, and just took a chance. I reached out to Adrienne King and Lisa Langlois were the first two I reached out to. Lisa, as has become a good friend of mine. I got a birthday card here from Lisa that says, show this because I love this card. She, if I can get her out here, but okay. It's got a nice car on it,
Oh yeah.
and inside it, it says, "You're not old. You're a classic. Happy birthday." But Lisa and I have become friends, and because I just crushed on her in class of 1984 where she played Patsy. But Adrian was another one, and I remember it was that long weekend in May, and I got a response from Adrian. I didn't think I was going to hear anything. I just did it by chance, and I just leaned back in my chair. It's like she said yes to me.
You know, all you got to do is try, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, I've got Friday the 13th part one script here signed by her that I got through the mail. She was doing that thing online, and
Right.
I was like, wow, I've been trying to get her on because I've been trying to pitch a business deal with her, where she could sell a line of clothes of green turtlenecks and overalls. I don't think she's going for it.
Again, all you can do is try.
She just can't see it. I said, I should tell her. I said, Bill Randolph will buy
Absolutely.
it. But anyway, watching part two like this. And by the way, I remember my cousins laughed when you yelled at the driver, "Asshole! This is
Oh, I
my
know.
truck."
That has become my signature line.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
which is fine. And
this
that was ad-libbed.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, this became a learning experience for me
Yes.
because Kirsten Baker
Yes.
became the first woman I'd ever seen naked.
Wow.
And Russell Todd told me if I ever get to talk to her, to share the story
Absolutely.
with her.
Oh, absolutely. She would love it.
And it was at this point where Mom came in and turned the television off. Not where Adrienne King gets the ice pick in the head, or Crazy Ralph gets barbed wired against a tree, or the cop gets hammer clawed. No, this is where she turns the television off. This, But my cousin snuck it on later. And you want me to tell you something? I
And
put
let me
myself
tell you
through
real
it.
quick,
Yeah.
that was the problem with the MPAA also. the fact that so many different things were cut was because it had to do with sex, not blood or gore. Because a lot of the effects had to do that were connected to sex had to be cut. And it, so again, they didn't care so much about how gory the effects were. They were upset about the fact that it was connected to skin.
Well, screw the MPAA. What do those assholes know,
Well,
But yeah, what do they know? The Catholic Legion of Decency, another one. Screw those people. Like
yeah,
they're going to
really.
tell me what I can watch.
Well,
Anyway,
they try.
yeah,
But
but
anyway, go ahead.
yeah, but they know if they come in here, me and my cat Skittles will fight them off. Skittles is hiding. He's not backing me up here. But nonetheless,
Now,
huh? What was you gonna say?
why is your cat named Skittles?
He was named that whenever I got him. He's a rescue, but he's a black and white cat named after the most colorful candy. How weird is that? And Nancy, I got him close enough where I got him up in camera. Nancy was like, "Oh, I just want to take a squish his little face." But anyway, well, by the way, I should show this. I got this is a steel book, but I got it in the I got another copy of it, and I got it in the box set as well. But nonetheless, I watched the rest of it because I wanted to see the villain, of course, in this case, Jason, get his comeuppance.
Yeah.
Gee, that was a nightmarish drive home because not only did Jason really not get it,
yeah.
I all the way home, I kept thinking to myself, because I was young, and I was like, he's still out there, he's still out there. You want me to tell you what had happened to change my mind on horror films?
Yes.
Due to my uncle's store, we had, of course, everybody did this, dubbed movies on blank tapes,
Right.
We had parts 2, 3, and 4 on a blank tape.
Okay.
Because my older brother was right into
Right.
these.
At the low resolution.
Well, my older brother made a point to me. He says to me, he says, "Greg, you love Conan the Barbarian, and it's loaded with blood." And I said, "Yeah, but Conan's not scary like Friday the 13th. Besides, had it been Conan instead of John Fury, I'm not sure Jason would have won that fight." Yeah, I'm not so sure. I had confidence in Conan. But one night, my older brother said to me, "It's okay." He got me to watch part 4, the final chapter.
Okay.
Where Jason, well, technically dies. And I watched a lot of it like this, but I went back to it again.
Yeah, of
And then
course.
eventually I watched part 2, 3, and 4, and I was like, you know what? I'm kind of digging it. By the way, I got a part 4 hockey mask signed by Ted White. I've had him on here a couple times.
Wow.
Yeah. I gotta say this, Ted White was my favorite Jason.
Okay.
I love the stories he told were amazing, but I loved him as Jason, that aggressiveness, and whatnot. But nonetheless, I never forgot Kirsten Baker.
Of course not. Who could forget Kirsten Bacon? As she walks, I mean, thank God it took so long to film that because it was so cold. Those nips were up, baby. Thank God those nips were up.
Russell Todd told me, because most times it's a close set. Apparently, she didn't care when she went out skinny dipping that everybody was watching. Is that true?
I was not there at that time.
Why weren't you?
I'm sorry, but I was probably back in New York City at that point. But yes, unfortunately, I was not there at that time because believe me, I would have been on set.
You would have told your wife that you were doing research.
She doesn't care. She knows who I am.
Well, I gotta tell you, that was the first time it was like, gee, that does not look like me in the shower. Something's different here.
Something's really strange here.
And I'm liking it.
Oh man, yeah. Wow.
Her in that
The
Mickey
thing
Mouse
that's
t-shirt.
interesting is nowadays, at the conventions and whatever, and certainly, I mean, fortunately for the conventions, I've gotten to know a lot of the cast even better than we knew them then because it's in a different context.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's not just when's your pickup, when's lunch, when's dinner, when's whatever. Let's get out of here because we were all in the cabins, and certainly Stu and I did a lot of stuff where we would do stupid pranks like we would scratch on the screens behind Marta and Kirsten and whatever to try and scare them. But the bottom line is that we didn't have as much social time with everybody as we do now at the conventions where we're able to really kind of get to know the people that we worked with 40 years ago. And it is it that's the one thing that I like the most about conventions is the fact that I've really gotten to know the cast much better than when we did the film.
Absolutely, but but nonetheless, um what
And
part what
Kirsten is a blast to go out and have drinks with, after the conventions. She's quite a character.
I've got to get her on here at some point, I got to, but I'm gonna say this. And this is kind of a sad thing. Between her and Marta Kober, they've had their pictures in places that they probably prefer that they didn't, mugshots.
Yeah, they both had some tough times. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, um, I think Kirsten, as far as I know, is doing better. Marta, I don't know how she's doing. I hope she's doing okay.
She was supposed to come to Atlanta, Georgia for a convention. I guess at this point it was in the fall of end of summer, beginning of fall of 2021. And somehow she never made the plane, which was unfortunate because it would have been great to see her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she's a little challenged in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people like her though. I gotta say this, looking back, not like this, but now looking back, one of my favorite death scenes, and I guess Mario Bava's Bay of Blood uh, um, kind of was the inspiration for this.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's almost verbatim.
Well, it's one of my favorite death scenes in the franchise is that
Yeah.
double impalement scene,
Oh, absolutely. Fuck
Yeah.
Shabab.
Yeah. I thought that was just a really great, even cut, just the shot of the spear and then her reaction as it goes down and then it comes out through the bottom.
Yeah.
Even cut, you kind of get the full thrust of
Oh,
what it is,
absolutely. It
but
would, but bum thrust, but bum. Yeah. I mean, even so, with kind of the blood and gore cut out. Um, yeah, it is very effective still. Yeah,
yeah,
I
I
agree.
like that. I love that it's a shot and
And maybe certainly Steve Miner or whoever was in the cutting room at the time, trying to adhere to the standards that were necessary, or whatever they said they had to do. They ended up, even with kind of all the death scenes, they did still keep kind of the essence and the flavor of the death scenes,
Yeah.
while conforming to whatever they needed to do. So it was, they did a very good job, I thought, in terms of what was finally released to the theaters.
Actually, part two, for a movie that was cut a lot, it got away with a lot. I mean, look at Kirsten Baker goes full nude in that lake.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing. They didn't care about sex. They just cared about sex and blood.
Hmm. I mean, everybody loves that shot where she comes up out of the lake and
Ooh, yeah, in my dreams.
but talk about, because I mean, you do a sex scene with Marta Cobra. Of course, you don't know that she's younger or whatever, whatnot. But
Yeah.
were you anticipating doing that scene? Were you nervous?
Uh, I tell you, it's very, kind of
You are gonna have
antis.
people watching, of course, all around, so
Yeah,
it
exactly.
adds into it.
Because in many ways it becomes very antiseptic,
Hmm.
in the sense that even though you are, naked, chest to chest, naked, essentially, naked with each other in this bed, because there are 12 people in the room filming this. Uh, in many ways, you still have to hit your marks. You still have to know where the camera is. You still have to know, where the camera is, in terms of, okay, my quote unquote fake orgasm has to happen at this time so that the camera catches my reaction
Don't say
at
fake
this time.
orgasm. No, Marta won't like hearing that.
Well, yeah.
I get her on here and she said, "Well, I faked it too."
Yeah, right. Let me tell you, she will definitely say that. Let me tell you. But, the point being that you're still acting in a scene, and you still have to do it for the camera, and you do still have to fulfill the where the camera is in the room. So as and certainly thanks to Marta and my brilliant performance, it feels much more spontaneous, but there's nothing spontaneous about it. Certainly, the thing that was fantastic about it is that being able to get naked in bed with Marta for 10 hours or whatever that it
Well, I
took.
heard that it was not comfortable because did they have to, like, it's funny looking back on this now. Because I mean, in part one, you got Kevin Bacon, and the arrowhead coming out through his throat, and I now it's like, oh wow, they did a cast of his neck, and like, oh wow, like Tom Savini did such a great job on that, and he was underneath the bed thing, and I was like, wow, like it's all practical. Well, in part two, did they cast your back?
Oh, absolutely.
Because
Yeah,
how yeah,
Tom Fullerton did a complete.
Carl Fullerton,
Oh, I'm sorry, who did I say?
Tom.
Tom. Carl Fullerton did a complete cast of my back, and essentially the thing that took the longest during those shots, because we did 2 takes, 4 hours each, was attaching the latex to my neck and back so that it was seamless, so that it looked like my back going straight on the bed. But I was on my knees because there was a hole in the bed where
Mm-hmm.
I was kneeling, where all the apparatus and everything else was straight back, so it looked like I was lying in bed on top of Marta.
And how was Marta positioned in all of this?
She essentially, because I was there for 4 hours of makeup, she would, kind of sneak in underneath and just put her head up. She was sitting, with her legs, around my body. So she was basically sitting, straddling my body, but she was in a sitting position. She just leaned her head back like this so that she was in position.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that
And
must have been uncomfortable.
well, but she was only there for the
No,
tape.
I mean you.
Oh, for me?
Yeah.
Well, here's another story. And unfortunately, I cannot remember this guy's name. I can't remember, but essentially, at some point, one of the makeup guys
Mm-hmm.
came up over to me as I'm lying in bed, with my head, you know, to one side as they're attaching this thing, and he said to me, he said, what did he say? He said something like, um, all he said was, "Open your mouth." So I opened my mouth. I went, ah, as I'm lying to one side, and he blew something into my mouth, and this was on the first take. And for the rest of the day, they could have done 20 takes. I was perfectly happy.
Okay.
And to this point, unfortunately, and maybe fortunately for him, I don't remember his name. I don't remember, whether he was on this, whether he was sound or makeup or who he was, but essentially, he was one of the crew guys that saved my life that day.
There you go. There you go. Well, that scene nearly got the film an X rating, you know.
Yes, I know,
Yeah.
which is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I do understand it in some ways because, yeah, it being as graphic as it was, and immediately following fornication, yeah. But it was very interesting in those days in terms of what the MPAA would say. Yes, this is possible. No, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they were much more loose on sex than they were on sex and blood.
Okay. Well, you spend a lot of time with Marta Kober. I mean, she was such a bad influence, wanted to go across the lake to see Camp Blood, and that
I
part
know.
where you
I
go
was such
after,
a wimp, wasn't
yeah, you go, come on, you chicken
I?
shit.
Exactly. Come
I
on.
like the scene where you're going up behind her, and you grab her butt cheeks in those little jeans. Was that improvised or was that in the script?
No, yeah, kind of all that stuff was essentially, they said, walk this path,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, we could do whatever we could wanted to do, and and that's kind of the a real compliment to Steve Miner as a
Mm-hmm.
director, that he trusted us as performers and as actors to give him what we needed in a scene, um, without going berserk. And we were actually able to get and I think that's why part two was so fun and good. And certainly I don't know about the other parts because I wasn't there on filming. But the thing that was so fun and good about us was that he really did trust that we would stay within the structure and still um, make it new and exciting and different.
And you had good chemistry with Marta, and of course, there's a
Oh,
lot of people that want to know,
absolutely.
did Muffin really die? You guys find the body of what appears to be a dog, and then
Yes,
of
I
course
know.
Muffin appearing there at the end. What's your theories on that?
My theory is that Muffin never died because, animals have much better instincts than humans.
It's just like
And
in part four,
uh,
the dog goes up Gordon and jumps out the window, he knows what's going on.
absolutely, I have a little Muffin myself at this point, where my wife and I have this great Shih Tzu Havanese mix.
You let Russell Todd dance with it?
Oh, absolutely. Anytime. If Russell Todd would come to my house and dance with my dog, I would film it.
Will he strike out all over the place?
Certainly the thing is that, because of these conventions, thank God, I have a relationship with Russell Todd that I never would have had otherwise. And I know him and like him so much better than when we did the filming. That and not only that, but also Kirsten and John, John Fury and Amy Steele, and all these people that are able to come to these conventions. We have so much fun that it is a blessing. It is fantastic. I would do any convention anywhere, anytime, if if somebody else other than myself was invited.
Well, Russell Todd I had on my show, I think
Ah,
it was 5 years ago.
he is
And I
terrific.
remember he was saying that when he did his death scene, his folks actually thought that he was in a snuff film. They thought they were gonna kill him off or something to that effect.
I mean, at the time, and in terms of what they were doing, and it's I don't know whether the Friday the 13th people took advantage of it, but there was so much kind of buzz that and okay, we're still here 40 years later, so the
Hmm.
buzz must have worked.
Yeah. And Tom McBride, of course, I've seen stills of him on his feet, so I guess he actually could walk in real life. I had no idea. He's sadly gone. Sadly
he
gone.
was he was one of the most beautiful human specimens I've ever met in my life. He was absolutely gorgeous and the sweetest. I can't tell you how sad and how tragic all that is. It's something that didn't need to happen, and it's really unfortunate that we lost so many people.
And
And
he
I mean, not to get into politics or religion or anything,
hmm
but the same is true kind of with this whole COVID thing. All it takes is a little foresight to just say, "Hey, let's try and do something about this before it kills millions of people or thousands of people or hundreds of
Yep.
people.
Yep.
Doesn't matter."
Yep.
But I'm sorry, that's my soapbox, and I'm getting off of it.
A lot of people like that wheelchair death, I gotta say. Were you there
Oh,
for that?
oh, no, 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 no. I wasn't there for the actual filming of that, But man, was that spectacular or what? I mean, what a
Yeah.
great stunt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jason does not have any sympathy for the paraplegic,
And neither did Jeff. I mean, how many times did I call Tom?
Scooter.
Yeah, Tom McBride's character Scooter. I mean, I can't imagine in this day and age they would not let that go.
Screw this day and age.
Yeah,
Jeepers.
really.
You
Yeah.
know,
I
yeah.
love Scooter, and that was definitely improvised.
Yeah. Yeah, I had Russell Todd on here. I've had Adrian King on here. And I have Warrington Gillette on here, and he's going to be at Frightmare in the Falls. I sadly have never did not get Steve Dash on here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
What a
I've
shame.
talked about this before, and of course I hear the one story from Warrington,
Yeah,
but
you
I
hear the
need
one side, right? Yeah.
well, I understand too because he was kind of at odds with Steve and with Cliff Cundy on this, you know.
Yeah.
And what's your take on Steve Dash and Warrington Gillette situation? Steve did, or Warrington was the one that comes through the window, and if that's the case, own it. That's a great scene, you know.
Yeah, I mean, kind of for the rest of it, and certainly Steve Dash, made a great convention career out of it. But Steve Dash was a wonderful human being. And Warrington Gillette, in his own way, is a wonderful human being.
Mm-hmm.
However, the bottom line is that Warrington Gillette came through the window and had the makeup on, but he was only on set, and don't quote me on this, but he was only on set for a week or two at the most. Steve Dash was there the whole time. So even though, kind of anybody who happened to be standing by and was on the crew and could put on the jeans and the shoes, they became Jason for that scene.
Including a woman in the opening.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it wasn't one person or the next. I mean, certainly during the chase scenes in the forest with Amy, that was Steve Dash. But coming through the window, that was Warrington Gillette.
I love the makeup job. Like Carl Fullerton went on to do Silence of the Lambs, and when you look at that cabin scene there with the head and the makeup on him, I love the long-haired Jason with half the hair. You
Yeah.
could see where Silence of the Lambs came into play afterwards, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing that I've heard, and I'm not sure exactly at this point, I think, nah, I better not say it because it's probably bullshit.
Yeah.
But Carl Fullerton no longer does special effects. I think that I've heard, and you can cut this out if it's not
I don't know how to edit. I don't know how to edit, but
okay, factually correct.
yeah.
But that he has become not only a very good friend with Denzel Washington, but also his primary makeup artist.
Ah,
And that's where his career has gone.
okay.
But it the whole, certainly, let's put it this way, it sells tickets while Steve Dash was alive and Warrington and the two of them were warring about who's the real Jason. That was fantastic for selling tickets to conventions. And I think that they truly did not like each other.
Yeah, Sean Clark said that I've had Sean Clark on here a couple times, and Sean said he was there when they had when Steve Dash confronted Warrington.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, certainly Warrington has taken great advantage of a couple of weeks of work.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly Steve Dash has also taken advantage of kind of his position on the set also. And God bless him. I hope they unfortunately Steve passed away, but Warrington, as long as he can milk it, God bless him.
He's gonna be at Frightmare in the Falls this October, and I'm gonna be there at that. So yeah, he's gonna be there. And
The only
but
thing that pisses me off
mm-hmm.
is that at all these conventions, they always want the Survivor girls and the Jasons. What about the rest of us schlubs? I
Yeah,
mean,
I
come
would
on.
think so. I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't sell tickets like they do.
Well, you know what? There's a big following for that kind of thing. Like that double impalement scene. I'd go see you, Marta. Cheaper, I'd go see you
Oh,
on Solo, you know?
the thing is that if I could somehow make a connection with Marta to tie her to my hip, we would do conventions forever. But it's not that easy.
Yeah. Yeah. But and also Jack Merckx passed away.
I went to his memorial.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually teaching an acting class. He lived at downtown in New York, and this great kind of artistic place, Bethune Street. And I was teaching the Martha Graham Company is there, and I was teaching an acting class. And one of my students said, hey, listen, one of your Friday the 13th buddies, there was a notice, on the board that he had passed away, and when his memorial was. So I was able to connect with his wife and go to his memorial, and it was a beautiful, beautiful memorial.
I heard he couldn't even drive when he did that scene.
No,
Did yeah.
I don't think that he had ever learned at that point how to drive. Being a city kid, he had never learned how to drive. Fortunately, it was a country road, and he couldn't get into much trouble.
Got into trouble in that back shack, though, I'll tell you.
Oh yeah, really?
I
Yeah.
tell you, that was made up by the end of that movie. And I've told Adrian King likes to play off this. Alice didn't really die. Well, you got her body there at that shrine. It's there. You can see it. And
Yeah.
by the end of part two, you got the cop and you got Kirsten Baker laying
Oh,
there.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, she came back and laid on the floor.
What was the story behind the cutaway of Kirsten's death? Was there anything on paper for that?
I have to get into my storage shed and see if I can find my original script. I'm not even sure that I still have my original script, so I'll have to look at that if I can find it.
It
To
is a
find
great cutaway to that band, though, I got to admit.
Oh, I tell you, even though it is what it is, I think that it's a good movie.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you apparently snuck in that.
Oh yes,
Talk about the poncho scene.
yes. It took me a long time to convince Steve Miner that nobody would know that it was me, and that it was a Hitchcock moment where it could be something that eventually people would give a shit about. And yes, I mean, essentially, I said, listen, just let me run through the parking lot during, when Amy and John come out to the car, and you'll never know who I am. It'll be in the rain. I have this, green thing on. Nobody will ever see me. And the thing that was fun about that particular night that we were filming in that location, I forget who it was. It might have been, but one of the guys on the set, oh God, and of course I'm an idiot for not remembering, but while they were filming that whole night, the two of us got on the foosball table, and you know how it's like everybody puts down a quarter and challenge or whatever the price was, but I
Mm-hmm.
think it was a quarter. Puts down a quarter to challenge the winners. We never got beat all night long.
Was you and Stu?
It wasn't Stu. It wasn't Stu because Stu was not inclined to, because Stu was filming. Stu
Yeah.
was working that night. It wasn't somebody that was working. It was somebody who wasn't working.
Well, there was a lot of extras as counselors, I gotta say.
Oh, absolutely.
We got to get into this
Okay.
because they talk about and again, I don't joke about drinking and driving.
Right.
But with Stu Charnel, has there ever been an argument where alcohol saved a life?
Yeah,
Because
maybe.
if he
Yeah.
hadn't have gone to the after hours,
And not only that, if he hadn't, flirted with a bartender or bartendress, or however her pronoun is these days, um, he would be dead.
oh my goodness, did he lock out? Can you imagine? Let's take ourselves out of fiction for a minute. The following morning, when they finally drunkenly make it back to camp, and what they see, and they're like, "Fuck! Thank
Yeah,
goodness we didn't come back to camp."
yeah, really, really.
Oh my.
That's a whole other movie.
Yeah. Well, apparently, Amy was supposed to be back for part three. We got to talk about two
But
John. Huh?
okay, so let's talk about, yeah. Unfortunately, in this business,
Yeah.
and God knows why, Amy Steele decided that it wasn't to her advantage to come back. Um, I'm
She was
sure that
wrong.
was I'm sure that was her, I'm sure that it was her agent. Yeah, it's like, I don't know, and to be honest, no, I'm not sure that it was her agent. Who knows who decided that it was not a good idea to come back? But come on, how uh, you know if they had resurrected Jeff and said come back, I would have been back in a second. And not
Well,
only that, but they keep on talking about all these sequels and all this, and of course there's all the litigation about the name Friday the 13th part two, Friday the 13th period, between all these, bigwigs who made millions and the rest of us made dick, um, of the sequels and whatever. But I would love to do a Friday the 13th part 15 or whatever it is, where all of us from part two and part one, or whatever parts that died tremendously, if we were all the waiters and waitresses and people who worked whatever tavern that they end up going to, so that, and doesn't have to be any credit, doesn't have to be anything. just were there, and all the fans would say, "Holy shit, holy shit, holy shit." That would be fantastic.
That would be fantastic. Go back to Stu Charno for a minute.
Okay.
You mentioned that, he's a stand-up comic and plays instrument. Did you guys ever decide to I could see a sellout at Madison Square Gardens where he's playing his instrument and you're playing the harmonica. You ever stop? What do you think? What do you think?
This is what I think about Stu as a musician.
Uh-huh.
Is in terms of the harmonica, it was on the table as a prop. I picked it up. That's the first and last time I've
come on.
ever played a harmonica.
Oh, come on. I can see a sellout at Madison Square Gardens right now.
Okay, well, you produce it, we'll do it.
Stu in the background and you up there in the front there with the harmonica.
Absolutely. I'll do it.
And then Marta Cobra throws something at your head.
That's right.
Was that improvised where she threw the shirt on your head?
I don't know whether it was or not, but certainly it worked.
Yeah.
And you'll notice in that scene that my sight line, they fucked me on the sight line.
Yeah.
Because I'm playing the harmonica, looking like over here. And then she throws the thing at me. And it's like, I turn and say, and laugh. So, the sight line sucked. She should have been at a different part of the bed throwing at me so that it looked like I had seen her before the sweater hit my head.
Well, you were busy with your cantata.
Yeah. Let me tell you, if Marta was taking off her shirt at the end of the bed, I wouldn't have been looking where I was looking. You know what I'm saying?
You know something? She had one of the best lines too, because I loved it there where you're getting your ass kicked in arm wrestling with Tom.
Yes, absolutely.
And then she goes, "Don't wear yourself out. If you want to wrestle, come with me."
Come wrestle with me. Absolutely.
Yeah. And
of course, my reply, which was totally improvised, later, Scooter.
And I've had Lon Marie Taylor on here as well.
Oh, I love Lon Marie. And the thing that's interesting is that when we were up there filming, I could have cared less about Lauren Marie. She was young, she was innocent. I just could have cared less. Since we've started these conventions, she is such she is certainly now she was such a sexy grown woman that I love her. She's a terrific human being. She's fantastic. I would go to any convention anywhere if she was going to be there.
Well, she's made brown undies appealing.
Well, and I look at that and I think, okay, I got to come up with something. I got to come up with something that
you get the hat.
Well, yeah. The hat is, the hat is pretty easy, and actually, I do wear a hat now to the conventions. But I need something like I need to make like a a cutout of the window so that the fans can sit as Cliff stealing my truck, and I can yell, "Asshole, this is my truck," through some fake window.
There you go.
But I had that idea last year actually with one of the guys that is a great volunteer, and We haven't had any conventions this year, so far I have no real reason to make it yet. But it's a good. It's not as easy to transport as brown undies, but
Well, I was gonna say maybe you could get the cab door from Dress to Kill and say this is the dent where I hit the pursuer.
anybody. Well, I better not say this because nobody's going to want to come get a signature at this point. But yeah, anything that works, I'm game.
You know what? With Law Marie Taylor, of course, she had that death scene. Of course, I said to her, I said, and then you get to slinky down the stairs, you know? I can almost
Oh,
hear
I know.
slinky, slinky. Law Marie Taylor. She apparently that was her too, dragging her down the
Oh,
stairs.
absolutely, absolutely. And not only that, but the two of us almost made it on the Oscars because they were doing a horror tribute on the Oscars one year,
Mm-hmm.
and they had that shot with the knife and the thumbnail that has
Mm-hmm.
the black and blue. They had that shot. Let's see, I can't do it this way because it
Mm-hmm.
was the opposite way. But they had that shot with the two of us in soft focus behind, and we almost came into focus. I was on the wall, she was behind the door. If we had come into focus, we would have been on the Oscars.
Well, you know what? Had you been a little more active instead of just hanging around, might have
Well,
saved
was
her
it?
life.
Yeah, right. I was gonna come back from the dead and
There you are. I like
yo,
that.
wait a minute here, pal.
There you are. Like, and she turns and screams, like, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for nothing, pal.
Yeah, apparently you were standing on something for that or something.
Well, the thing was, is that where I was actually hanging
Mm-hmm.
was not, you know, my full height. It was probably, maybe 3 or 4 inches shorter. So I was able to, between takes, I was just standing there. And then during takes, I would just slump, into position. So it was not painful or difficult.
You could see Marta's hair still on the bed, so I guess he didn't get decorative with her, you know. She's still in the bed.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah. What happened to her body?
I
He
don't
he
know.
he hangs me up with a sheet and leaves her there. The two of us should have been, kind of entwined together, hung up
Or
on the.
maybe over the door where one of us was on one side.
Yeah, really, really good. Yeah, could have been a sandwich.
Do you have any stories about Marta or not Marta, Laura Marie Taylor trying to eat the blood pills and that not working?
No, it's funny. It's because I didn't really hear those stories until conventions and
Okay.
whatever. Because kind of, and certainly the thing is because the budget was so low. At the most, you got 2 takes. So if it worked the first take, they were moving on. And the thing that was most important was whether there was hair on the lens. Because that's the first thing they check. They check the gate, and if the gate is clean and the take was good, they move on. And as far as I remember, for the most part, we had 2 takes at the most of everything. And if it was a good take, and essentially they didn't care about us as the actors. Essentially, they would say to camera, Was that good? And if the camera said it was good, we moved on. And that's kind of typical of lower budget films, that if they got it on film, they're moving on.
Well, you know what? We haven't talked about John and Amy yet, so let's get into them here because
Okay.
John Fury, a lot of people say they debate whether Paul lived or died. I'm going to give my theory.
Okay.
I say Paul died because if you watch part 3, you got the new Crazy Ralph character where he's got this eye in his hand, and he says there's other parts of the body. I think that was Paul's eye.
Oh, okay.
I don't think Paul made it.
Well, it doesn't make sense if he did.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I tend to agree with that.
Yeah.
It's like, in the overall chronology of everything, no, it doesn't make sense if he lives.
Well, what
But
was it? Yeah.
of course, then you have Stu and everybody else that was at the bar that's coming back in my truck. What the hell happened to all those people? Because you never see anything about that.
Well, I imagine they
And
probably
if I
notified.
were an
Yeah.
extra in that film, I would have said, hey, I never died. Why am I not in part 3?
Mm-hmm. Well, what was it like working with John? Of course, John got to fight Jason, and I think he was on the losing end, but with special help. But I love it.
It's interesting because essentially, Stu and Marta and I, because we had most of our scenes together, other than that kind of breakfast scene or whatever scene it was that Paul is oh no, actually I guess it was dinner, because then we went out to the or
Yeah, no seconds on desserts for you, young man.
yeah, really. And the problem is I never found out what those desserts were.
Yeah. Yeah, must have
But
been good supper. Poor Russell Todd was pretty tired.
yeah,
Bet you he
really.
regretted that.
Yeah, really. What a choice was that, sex for life, which is more important.
Well,
But
Kirsten Baker, she's almost worth the risk.
yeah, she was worth a risk. She was worth it. But I it was interesting because Amy and Paul in the script were separate from all of us, and kind of on set they were separate from all of us. I know that I had a great friendship with Marta and Stu, and I tried to have a friendship with Kirsten, but she could have cared less. And also, Russell Todd, I really didn't have any kind of relationship with anybody on set other than the people that I was working with all the time.
Well,
And
you and Russell were busy hanging around.
yeah, but
He was hanging by his feet, and you were hanging by your neck.
that's right. And certainly on any kind of low budget set, in any kind of set, because even with Dress to Kill, I only worked with the people that I worked with. You don't see anybody else that's not working that day. If they're not working, or
if you're working with Nancy, you don't need to see anybody else.
well, yeah, and probably I screwed my career by being so gaga over Nancy, who was the director's wife, that he never. Although I did hear that, and I think it was The Fury, that Brian was did after Dress to Kill.
No, he did the Fury before.
Oh, really? Then what was it that he did after?
Blow Up.
Blow Up. Yes, on Blow Up, or Blow Out.
Blowout. Yeah, I'm thinking of the
Yeah,
Antonio film.
with
Yeah.
John Travolta. Yeah.
Yeah.
That he did call to find out if I was available for a couple of days on that. And I was doing Friday the 13th part 2 at the time, so I was not available. But I had not heard from him since. So I don't know, I must have fucked up somewhere.
Well, one of the things I love now, Amy Steele's gonna be at Frightmare in the Falls, and you want to believe, hey, it's Muffin.
Yeah, Muffin's in the background. I don't know. I guess my family is coming home.
Yeah, I'll try to wrap this up as soon as I can. But Amy Steele, I'm gonna meet at Frightmare in the Falls. Plus, I gotta ask her what it was like, what it feels like to kick Jason in the nuts and get away with it.
Well, I guess in the long run, it didn't really work. But I don't know. Yeah, I guess you have to ask her and Warrington, whether it was worth it.
Was that Warrington or was that Steve?
Oh, I don't know. It was probably Steve, but I'm sure they'll they'll milk it however they can. I tell you, it's really, really, really a shame that Steve Dash passed away. I mean, he was, I was fortunate being at conventions with him and also Steve Dash, not Steve Dash,
Warrington.
Yeah, Warrington. But who was the other one that did a lot of the different Jasons?
Kane Hodder.
Kane Hodder. I was very lucky, a couple of conventions to be right next to his table because he was a sweetheart also. He was just fantastic. But certainly any of those Warringtons, any of those Jasons that I was able to meet, they were always just fantastic. And what a gift. What a gift that we were part of this Friday the 13th franchise that just doesn't quit. I mean, that's fantastic.
You get recognized a lot?
No.
Nobody
knows who the hell I am.
Well,
I certainly I can tell you that 7,000 years ago when I was actually working in television, there was one time in Santa Barbara where I was buying something at some thrift store or something, and the girl that was taking my money said, "Didn't we go to high school together? Do I know you?" And that's kind of like the only time that I get recognized, which is fine with me.
It's funny, because all these years later, this thing is still like one question I always ask everybody that comes on here. What's the most interesting thing you've ever been asked to sign, whether it be convention or otherwise?
I would love it if, one of the fans asked me to sign their naked breast, but that has never happened. It has never been that interesting. It's always a book or a poster or something that is not personal. I don't even have anybody asking me to sign their underwear or anything, even though it's not attached. But I've always had the fantasy that some fan would come up and say, hey, here's a Sharpie, sign my breast.
It's funny because I've had Melanie Kinnaman from Part 5 on here a couple times, and
Yes.
she said she was not amused with this, but she said somebody had her face tattooed on his hind quarters.
Wow. Now that would be a little scary.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, I hear stories of people getting the the signatures tattooed on them and whatnot. And I think the first time I heard that was when I had Caroline Monroe on here. Now I've heard it countless times since, and it's kind of, I don't have any tattoos, I'm not that wacky, but
I
nonetheless,
mean, the thing is that nobody has even asked me to sign any kind of body part. And certainly that would be temporary. And who knows if I were somebody that was still working, it might have a different cachet. But at this point,
it's interesting too. Some other little trivia I just found out recently that blew my mind. I think it was in the commentary track of Part 2 on the box set. I didn't know Wes Craven had filmed the Betsy Palmer stuff where Amy Steele's in that back um, shack there.
yeah.
Wow, that blew my mind.
And I heard that, and this has no credibility whatsoever, but I heard that in terms of that they actually did go back to the shack after we had wrapped and filmed some other stuff.
You know what? I wonder how many bodies were in there besides Alice from Part 1. You gotta wonder because there's 5 years in there between Parts 1 and 2. I often wonder, if there was any other bodies because you don't see all through it.
No.
Except, yeah,
And in theory, there should
mhm.
be a lot of bodies, but maybe Jason was very picky and he only wanted the sexy girls.
Maybe, which is why Kirsten got drugged back there. But I mean, Steve Miner, of course, was a protege of Sean S. Cunningham, who directed the
Sure,
original.
absolutely,
Now, I
yeah.
understand Susan
And
Cunningham.
and Steve Miner also worked on Part 1.
Yeah,
So it was a kind of a natural progression.
and Susan Cunningham, Sean's wife, was an editor on Part 2. Was Sean involved at all with Part 2? Because I hear mixed stuff.
At one point, it's very possible that Sean showed up on set, not on set, but at the camp where we were all staying at, kind of during the day or whatever. And I but because I'm a mental midget, I don't. Oh, I shouldn't say that. Mental small person. Um, that I didn't keep any notes, and I don't really remember. But I know that there was, some guy that showed up in this beautiful convertible, and we actually spent some time, trying to, like go to the local high schools and you know pretend that we were superstars.
Oh, memories of Walt Gorney, Crazy Ralph.
Oh, he was, it's interesting because somebody asked me about that, and I said that I never, saw or spoke to Walt other than on set. And then somebody posted a picture on Facebook of Marta and I, in the the main building at for part two, with Walt, standing there and having a conversation with us. So unfortunately, I do not have memories of spending time with him, but I must have.
Another thing too, phone booths are almost a thing of the past right now.
Oh yeah, that phone booth was never there. It was gone. It was there for the day, and then it was gone. It was a prop. It was not. It was not on that corner, and no matter how many times before or after you go to that corner, there is not a phone booth there.
A lot of locations for part two are gone, apparently.
Yeah.
It's like the bar is gone. I guess it
Yeah.
burned down or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, which is unfortunate because a lot of people have been looking for a lot of that stuff.
And not only that, but where we actually filmed, and certainly it was a different, kind of, it was actually, some kind of a camp at the time, and then it was bought privately. And the people who bought it absolutely hated Friday the 13th fans. It got to the point where they just bulldozed everything and made this beautiful home on that lake, which is perfectly understandable. But
they
had
could have made money at that, just like they
they
do with the part one camp.
I know they just never embraced it. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. No, that makes no sense logically to me because the part one camp they do tours in that. So
I know. We still go there for conventions.
you know what? I got an idea for you where you can make extra money.
Yes.
Yes. It's called the Bill Randolph workout video. The first the first part is somebody taking your vehicle, like Cliff Cundy, maybe showing up there because he's the coach. He drives off with your truck and you run after it. So you get your run in. And
Yeah,
maybe along the way, I mean, unfortunately, Tom McBride not around, but part way, he could be, hey, Jeff, the girls are slowing you up. On,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
you know, and of course, you got to work on your muscles. So maybe part way through there'll be a tree across the road, and you could drag that across. They get your workout in, and then maybe Marta can take you on a little hike. You work on those leg muscles.
Fantastic idea. Um, it would be interesting. It would be interesting if somehow I could ever get in touch with Marta and convince her to go into the woods and actually. Actually, I guess I could just take clips from the movie, right?
No, you gotta do it. This is your exercise video. You're inspiring millions of people. Don't be
Yeah,
like my cat that's laying there curled up asleep there.
Yeah, I know. Let's go look at my version of Muffin and see what he's doing. I'm sure he's asleep also.
Yeah. And to touch briefly on switching channels, you mentioned, of course, Kathleen Turner
Yeah,
and Christopher Reeves, God rest his soul.
yeah,
Great
really.
Superman.
Yeah, and also, as much as everybody absolutely, uh,
I
you
love
know,
Burt Reynolds, I gotta say.
listen, Bert was very good for who he was.
hmm
It was just not the replacement that was needed. And unfortunately, I think that it really kind of tanked the film. But God rest his soul. Thank God Kathleen is still alive.
She's
Um,
Serial Mom.
Not only is she serial mom, but I, it's interesting because I actually saw her at one of these Days of the Dead conventions a few months ago, and she is just she's game for anything. She just is. You know, I've always had a great relationship with her, and she's terrific.
She's
Um,
Jessica Rabbit.
yes, absolutely. Jessica Rabbit. Yes.
There you go. There you go. Do you have any charities that you're involved with that you want to plug on here?
Unfortunately, I wish that had, at some point. Unfortunately, it's like I don't have any kind of cachet.
Mm-hmm.
So if I were involved in a charity, it would do absolutely nothing for them. So I've yet to embrace that. There are things, and a lot of it has to do with, my wife berates me all the time. Just the fact that I'm so lazy. I'm such a lazy fuck. It's like I
You
should
need Cliff Cundy to come over and,
absolutely
get you pumped.
get me going. Absolutely.
You know
Because
something? I've been involved. Remember the Ice Bucket Challenge
no, I
for
don't.
ALS, where people are
Oh
dump.
God, yes.
My dad just passed with ALS
Yeah, yeah,
after
yeah,
eight
yeah.
years.
I have a very good friend that I worked with early in my career that is suffering through that.
Yeah, not fun. But one came out after Robin Williams passed for suicide and depression awareness. It was called the Doubtfire Face Challenge. And I've thrown it out to some of my guests. It's for suicide and depression awareness, and it involved taking a pie in the face, and you nominate three people. And you know who one of the people that took it on was?
Who?
La Marie Taylor.
She is the best. She is the best. Okay.
Yeah, I
All
threw it
right.
out,
So I'll talk to her about that. See.
but I forget who it was.
But
Somebody.
but aren't many more people interested in her than me? I mean,
I've had quite a few. Nancy McLaughlin from Jason Lives Part 6 did it in front of props from the movie. Sandy
okay.
Johnson from Halloween. I
Okay.
love Sandy. Her husband was dressed up as Michael Myers, and
Wow.
he put the pie in her face. And one of the people she nominated was Felissa Rose. And I met Felissa at Frightmare in the Falls last year, and I showed her the video. And Felissa was like, "I'm in, I'm in."
Wow.
I forget who it was. Who was it? Somebody told me that Bill would be down for something like this, and I
Well,
forget who it was.
absolutely. Listen, I'll contact Lauren Marie. I'll look at her pie in the face.
No, it's on my
And
YouTube channel.
okay, and I will if it raises money for anybody, I'm in.
You got to do it with your wife.
Oh, okay.
I like that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that'll take some convincing.
Yeah,
She can throw the pie in my face.
there
She
you
would like
go.
that. Yeah.
She and if you could convince her, she could take one too. Take one for the
Okay.
team.
All
But
right.
she can dance when she does it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Dream
But
on, pal.
I'm trying to get the industry involved. So I mean, if you know people in the industry you think would go for this, throw it
I
out.
mean, kind of unfortunately, I've been out of it for so long
Well, I know you haven't
that
gotten your exercise. We just talked about the video you're
that's
going to
right.
do to
That's
inspire
it.
people. I forget
Okay.
who it was that told me, said that Bill, and it's like I said, I don't know who said that, but but I don't know who said it, but nonetheless, Law Marie Taylor did one, and I guess her husband, who she worked on Girls' Night Out with, filmed it, and she was great. She had sprinkles on hers, which I guess was her idea. But I love Law Marie Taylor for that. But it's just an awareness thing, and I thought because I'm right now coaching an actress right now who will remain nameless, who's dealing with depression right now, and she calls me when she needs a little uplifting, so it's something that's not taken very seriously. But I forget who it was that said, "Tell
It
Bill."
is serious. Yeah.
Yeah, you can get your wife, and yeah, probably a stretch to get Marta. Mart.
The thing is that if you get Stacy involved, she might be able to find Marta.
Actually, you know
I
what?
have no idea where she is.
Here's the thing. It's funny. I'm glad because I thought of Stacy earlier. I'm glad you brought her name back up because I've had Sean Clark on here a couple times. Love Sean, and I thought because when I interviewed Sean, I wanted to talk to the guy who started out at working at Spencer's Gifts to booking Jamie Lee Curtis for her first con. That was a story I wanted. And I've had Sean on here a couple times. And I was like, I should see if Stacey Lee will come on here and talk about where her beginnings was and how she got to where she is. And Stacey got back to me and she was wondering why I would want to interview her. I'm like, first off, I've interviewed people on this show who I'd never heard of before.
Yeah.
I had a guy reach out to me named
Let me
David
tell you,
Black.
Stacy, as reluctant as she may be, would probably be a great interview because she knows so much about so many people that are in the business that it might be really fascinating.
Does she know about your lack of exercise? I mean, look, you haven't cleaned that friggin' bed up behind you. It's been what, over 40 years, man.
Yeah, I know. It's disgusting.
But I mean, but what I was saying, I had this Aussie. It's a guy reached out to me. He says, "You interview Aussie filmmakers." The guy's name was David Black. Never heard of him. Didn't recognize a single film credit. But I said, "Yeah." First off, who am I? Like, I don't feel right about saying no to somebody when really I should be honored they'd even ask me. Because I feel blessed to have you on here today. Like, after watching that movie so many years and years ago in my young teens and being educated by Kirsten, But I had him on,
God bless Kirsten.
but he said to me, he goes, "We probably won't get much more than half hour." The interview went 2.5 hours.
Oh yeah.
And
The thing is that certainly everybody, everybody has a fantastic story.
yeah,
Everybody.
yours just doesn't involve exercise.
That's right, exactly.
But nonetheless, that's I try to make people comfortable, but I feel blessed to be able to do this. My YouTube's not monetized. I work, like I said, I work at the hospital.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure I see you Marta in there at some point.
Well,
But
you talk to Stacy, she might be able to arrange that.
but nonetheless,
Because certainly the thing is that if there's a convention that's close by, nearby, maybe if we get Marta in there, she'll come to a convention. That would be great.
I do Horrorama in Toronto, and that is run by Suspect Videos, Louis Therese, and Chris Alexander, who used to be an editor in Fangoria magazine.
Uh-huh.
And I do Frightmare in the Falls in Niagara Falls. James Ponce is one of the promoters for it.
Okay.
And I'm going to see Amy Steele there this fall.
Oh,
I'm
cool.
going to be all dreamy. I'm going to be all dreamy to see Amy and Adrian. Oh my goodness, two of my childhood
Is
crushes.
John going to be there too? John Fury?
He's not announced yet. They've announced 16, but James Ponce told me they're supposed to be like 24.
Okay. Well.
So,
I mean, the thing is that I can't imagine seeing the two of them and not seeing John at the same time. I mean, that's a combo that you want, you know, Amy and John.
I'd love to do a little video where if I could get Amy to agree with it, where I say where I do this little introduction and say I'm supposed to do an interview with my guest ever shows up, and then have Amy show up and say, "What the hell is this? Everybody else got here hours ago." Said I was sorry. You did. I'm sorry, but my car's sick. Well, you could have called. We got cell phones now.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. Yeah, you know, if they'd had cell phones in those days, would have
Yeah,
changed the whole movie.
but I mean, I probably wouldn't be lucky enough to get the kiss at the end of it. She goes, "Bullshit, Paul. I can always dream."
You know,
But I
that's what
do,
that's what life is made of. Life is made of dreams.
know Amy is good friends with Bobby Heckman, who's made this. This is Victim No More.
Okay,
Yep. You know Bobby Heckman?
I do. I don't know.
Because he lives in the New York area.
Yeah,
And
but that's you know, that's like saying, yeah, he lives on the East Coast, and what the hell does that mean?
well, what's wrong with you? If you
There are
were getting
six
more,
million. There are six
listen,
million people within two
he had
miles of me.
he has dinner with people like Amy Steele, John Fury, La Marie Taylor. Who else did he have at that table? Were you not there?
I don't know.
Maybe
Yeah,
maybe you weren't.
yeah.
But I
You
know
know,
he
nobody,
tech he
nobody likes me. Everybody hates me. I'm going to eat some worms.
but gummy worms? I love
Yeah, I
gummy
guess at
worms.
this point, yeah.
But I mean, he sent me a text one night. He says, "Guess who I'm having dinner with?" He was at one of the cons and sent this picture, and there's like Amy Steele,
What was
John.
the con? What was the con? Was it in New Jersey?
It might have been. I don't know. Maybe it was.
Uh-huh. Because I might have been at that table, only, you know,
Let me
maybe I was
see here because
up getting a drink or something.
I don't know. I know La Marie Taylor was there. This was before I'd interviewed La Marie, you know. But
Now, I don't know if that's a Canadian thing,
what?
but it's Lauren. It's not Lon. It's Lauren Marie.
Lauren? Well, maybe it is a Canadian. She didn't correct me on it.
She's too polite. She's too
Oh,
nice.
she is lovely.
She's fantastic. I love her.
But where is that? Oh, he sent me a picture on here somewhere where he texted me that. I'm wondering because he had a few part two people at that table.
I would think so.
Because I asked
If
him if
Lauren Marie and John and Amy are there, then why wouldn't I be there? Well, of course, the thing is that in terms of conventions, everybody's much more interested in the women than they are us schlubs.
well, here's the picture. I don't know how well you're going to see it, but I do see John Fury there, Amy Steele's there,
Yeah, Lauren. Yeah,
and
okay.
Laura Marie Taylor. I don't know who the other people are, but Bobby Heckman.
Uh,
They're having. Yeah, he sent me this text, and I asked him if.
when was it? Do you have the date?
Let me see. When was that? When did April 8th, 2022?
Oh, yeah, I was not there. I was not invited. You know, what can I say? You know, what can you say? You know, it's like I'm sorry, but I was not a guest on the list.
Well, they gotta fix that.
Really.
Yeah, but nonetheless, he sent me that one night, and I asked if they were having seconds on dessert.
That was the, that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
The only thing I've done this year is I did something at you know, like at Blairstown, and I did something on Friday the 13th, and I also did something in England. but those are the only two that I did this year.
Well, I'm
So,
involved with Victim No More, and I'm a co-producer on 13 Fanboy, which
oh yeah,
yeah, I got my name on that.
okay.
Um, and of course, Adam Marcus's Hearts of Darkness, the making of the Final Friday. I got my name on that one as well. So I don't know. I'll have to tell Stacy Lee that I had you on, and
Yeah, beat the shit out of her.
I'm gonna tell her that.
And certainly the thing is that I know that Stacy works very hard to try and get, all of us involved in these things. And the bottom line is that the convention has to um, believe that we're gonna, bring in enough fans and sell enough tickets to make it worthwhile. And being everybody's much more interested in the females, and the heat that
Get a sex change then.
yeah, really, I needed a breast implant for Christ's sakes. You know, and I understand that. It's like, and to be honest, if Marta were much more available, the two of us could do a lot.
You know
And
what? I think you, Marta, and Stu.
oh, absolutely. Unfortunately, Stu is not in great health at these days during these days.
I
You
would
know,
like to get him on here.
oh, he's just he has such a mind. He's brilliant. He's
Last time
brilliant.
I reached out to him, he turned me down. I'm wondering if I could get him to change his mind because I would love to have him because he was in Christine and Once Bitten and stuff
Oh
like that as
yeah.
well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You
He's
know,
got a
I
and
heard he's got
he's just
muscular sclerosis.
yeah, he's got MS and you know, life ain't easy. We're not youngsters anymore.
No, I'm 50 and I did a double shift at the hospital. I'll tell
You're
you, my
50, you're 50 in what, 12 days? 50 in how many days?
I was 50 on July 8th.
Okay, so
But I'll
how
tell
many
you, my body
today's
can't.
the 26th, so that's 16, 17, that's 18 days. 50 and 18 days.
I'm gonna tell you, I did a couple double shifts at the hospital, and it's like, man, at 25, I could do this like nothing. I'm
Yeah,
feeling at 50, I'll tell you that.
sure, of course,
But
yeah.
yeah, I'm one of the people that can call that always says yes because I'm a sucker.
Well, I mean, the thing is that in terms of that, anytime I was working regular jobs or whatever, I was very fortunate that I worked as a graphic designer at the Daily News for 20 years, and I would stay till the job was done.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mindset that hey, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. Sure, yes.
What are you
And
doing these days anyway? Because if you're
I
not
am
acting anymore,
I am retired.
no, seriously, what are you doing these days?
Well, I'm a member of the Actors Studio. And one of the things that's fascinating is that on HBO Max,
Uh-huh.
Ethan Hawke has done this great documentary on Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward,
Mm-hmm.
and they had some pictures and film of Paul Newman at the Actors Studio, uh, and the building is exactly the same. The space is exactly the same. The chairs are set up exactly the same. The work area is set up exactly the same. I'm like sitting there looking at it and saying, "Oh my God, look at these people." And we're talking about Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward and Monty Clift and all these people that were sitting in those chairs that I now sit in, to go and do session. It was, it certainly boosted my ego. Not that I'm really doing much of anything else. But yeah, now that I'm retired, I'm gonna try and start getting, back into film and see what happens.
Well, we're going to start with your workout video, as I said. I'm pretty sure your wife will
And
be an
who's filming
executive.
this?
Your wife is going to be the executive behind it because I know
Yeah,
she's all
right.
for this.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
By the way, if your wife is heavily into dance and whatnot, like is she and that's what she's done her whole life, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was thinking there's a story right there if she'd like to come on here.
Well, if you Google
Mm-hmm.
Therese, Terese, Capucilli, Capucilli, um, she's got like 7,000 more hits than I do. No, seriously, she's like she is, kind of a major figure in modern dance, um, in the world. So, and not only that, but she actually did a documentary on Reed Hansen, who was an accompanist. Yeah, actually, she'd be a very interesting interview.
I wouldn't mind having her on here if she'd like to come on here, if you'd like to refer her to me at some
Okay,
point.
yeah,
Yeah, I
I'll
think that
ask
would be
her.
something very different because I've had Antonia Franceschi on here from
And
Fame.
of course, the fact that now, what we've been on here now for almost 3 hours.
You're
She,
not even my longest. Bruce Glover went 3 hours,
oh, really?
but Craig Muckler from Microwave Massacre went four,
Yeah.
4 hours and 8 minutes,
Oh my
and
God.
most of it was him
And what did
talking.
you cut it down to?
I didn't cut it down.
Oh, really? You do the whole thing?
I don't know how to edit on here, but here's the thing. Like when I worked at the station, I could edit. I don't know how to edit this, but here's the thing. I these people that can't listen to a whole thing, I'm not going to deal with today's attention span.
Oh yeah.
Not going
Yeah,
to
yeah,
deal
yeah.
with it. Bobby Heckman, going back to Mr. Heckman here, he listens and like he also works a job similar to mine, except he don't clean, but he works at a hospital. So, I mean, he listens in his car. He listens to my podcast. But a lot of times if you don't have time, go back to it.
Sure.
Yeah, if you're if you're interested, like I've
So,
got
speaking of that,
uh-huh,
because I've told, certainly I have. Oh wow, I have a dog, as you've heard in the background,
uh-huh.
and I'm about to take him out to go walking. And some of my dog walking friends, I told them that I was doing this podcast, and they said, "Oh, send us the link, send us the link." And it's like I have to tell them, "Oh, that's
That's a
fantastic.
magnet.
That is beautiful."
Yep.
That I have to tell them. I say, "Well, I'll send you the link, but it's
You know
4 hour,
what? I'm
four
gonna
hours
I'm gonna let
long."
I'm gonna let you know something flat out first, okay? Because
Yes.
I've had this issue dealing with this before is when it goes up, it will be unlisted on YouTube.
Right.
Um, Here's what I generally do.
Okay.
Um, I release so many a month.
Right.
When I started doing this, my former station manager had told me, she says, when you put stuff up, don't put it up all at once. Save some for a rainy day.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Well, when COVID hit, that was my rainy
Oh
day because
God.
when the
Yeah.
station went into lockdown, I had no way of doing this.
Yeah.
Nancy McLaughlin from Jason Lives actually was the one that suggested Zoom to me.
Wow.
And yeah, so anyway, when station went into lockdown, I had about 150 interviews in my backlog.
Oh my God.
Here's what I do because nothing from 2022 is public yet. Here's what I do. so that people can put them out there and not have to wait a year for me to put them public. What I do is I send the link. It's still unlisted, but I send you the link and you can post it wherever you
Okay,
want
so
to.
I can put it on Facebook, on my Facebook
Yep.
page.
And
Fantastic.
people, yeah, and I'm hoping people can see it. I've had people say because it's unlisted they can't, but I'm like, you're supposed to be able to, because I have a guest, an unknown guest, by the way, somebody I only met through one of the cons, who did walk around videos. His was unlisted until recently, and he had nearly 500 hits.
Okay.
So I don't know how unlisted didn't affect him from.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, certainly the thing is if you send me the link,
Mm-hmm.
certainly I will check out the link.
Mm-hmm.
And, if I don't have any problem, I'll put it on my website and I'll share it with, all my friends, and
Mm-hmm.
they'll be able to come see it. I don't know if they'll last for 3 hours, but
They better,
yeah,
because
yeah.
the length of this interview is going to be the length of your workout video. It'll probably take
You're
you
right,
4 hours.
and you're producing the workout video, right?
Cliff Cundy will be there, I'm sure. He's gonna be your workout coach, but I'm pretty sure it'll probably take you 3 hours to get that big tree across the road.
It'd take me 3 hours just to get up that street again.
There you go. They might have to tow you up there.
Yeah, really. It'll be kind of, the thing that's great about that shot is that my hair is flying back, as I'm running. There's no way I'm going to get up to that speed that my hair is going to be flying. So, I'll have to be carrying a fan in front of me so that my hair flies, even though I'm, kind of walking up the street.
See, there's no idea. I just gave you all these ideas for a new workout video.
Unbelievable.
And in the meantime, you got to clean that bed up. I mean, look, come on. It's been almost 45 years, man. Come on.
I know, I know, I know.
Seriously.
It's shocking, isn't it?
Like you got that behind you. Like, I know your wife doesn't sleep in that. Come on.
No,
You
no.
know, and judging from it not being made, somebody's been sleeping in it and not making it. Jeepers, man. Come on.
I tell you, life's a bitch. What can you do?
Yeah. Well, you know what, Bill? This was so much fun having you come on here today. And
Fortunately, I have an ego that does not stop. So
mhm.
I could talk about myself forever.
Well, I know you were on
And
Scotty.
thank you for being such a great host
Well, thank
to
thank
to keep
you.
to keep me going about all these different subjects.
Well, you know what? I love this movie, Dress to Kill.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
It's
do
one of
I.
my favorites. And I like Friday the 13th Part 2 as well. See, Muffin out there likes Friday the 13th Part.
I
By the way,
know.
I didn't ask you, what do you think of the sequels? Did you got any favorites?
To be honest, I haven't watched many of them, and certainly when I got the Blu-ray box set, I did, kind of sit there and start to go through them. And the thing that is fascinating about them is the fact of how they reinvent the formula over and over again to make it interesting. It actually is kind of surprisingly, each one has a new element that makes it, you can understand, okay, this is why they did another part. This is why there's another part, other than the obvious fact that they wanted to make money. But, I do think that they were very successful in continuing to make it interesting.
After Part 2, the big ones I'd recommend would be the final chapter, Part 4.
Yep, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
Jason Lives
And
Part
I mean,
6.
unfortunately, I think part three, because of the 3D, that kind of gotten in its own way, because then it became about the effect as opposed to the story. But I agree, part four, they got back to where it was a very, you cared about the characters and you cared about what was
Well,
going on.
Part 3 did have Tracy Savage, so
Well, yeah, Tracy Savage is, I mean, come
she
on.
was the reason I forked 3K into 13 Fanboy, which I can't do that again, I'll tell you. She was flattered when I told her about that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, but
So yeah, you're right. There are some of them that really do forward, the franchise, and the whole, Jason versus Freddy and all that kind of stuff. Then it just becomes about making money. And
Jason Lives Part 6 I recommend highly because that
yeah,
was funny, but a lot of Tom McLaughlin, the director's throwbacks to early monster movies was great in it as well. So
yeah,
I like Part 6 a lot too.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. No, this has been fun having you come on here, and reminisce. I know you were on Slasher Scotty McCoy's podcast.
Right.
Yep, I've had Scotty on here 6 times, so
Wow.
yep.
Okay.
Um, if you don't mind, I have some other podcast I could throw your way.
Anything, listen, I'm happy to talk about this. I think that it was, and certainly being, kind of prejudiced about our part two.
Mm-hmm.
I think that part two was a very good movie within the genre and by itself. And I'm happy to talk about it anytime. So yeah, anybody you want to throw my way, I'm happy to do.
Well, I have some other podcasters in mind that would love to have you.
Okay.
And
I'd love to do it.
yep. So you might have to look at your filtered messages on Facebook.
Well, what I'll do is that, somehow I'll get to you a more direct route, so,
Okay.
so that we don't have to go through Facebook.
Okay. Yeah,
But
maybe
I'm not sure
message me
how.
your email or something like that. And or actually, I know Scotty did it by Zoom. A lot of these will probably be by phone if they do it.
Sure.
I kind of like this idea because I don't have to go to the station. I don't have to call to see if the Studio B is free for me to
Yeah.
use. This I can do just like this.
Yeah. And
And after,
besides, you have such a lovely room.
well, yeah, I don't know why people are saying to me, you need a professional background, but I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I might switch things around. I don't know, but I do have the box set over there.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things you might think about is,
Hmm.
because it looks like, the wall to your left there seems pretty empty. You might think of having that as the background as a front.
Yeah, I might do that. I might turn this is supposed to be a temporary location because a lot of what you're seeing there's boxes of books and stuff packed away. My Crystal Lake Memories book is in there somewhere. And I probably should dig that out because there's going to be some Friday people at Frightmare, so I might have to get that signed. But nonetheless, I do have some other podcasters to throw your way, and so they'll
Okay.
probably reach out to you on Facebook. But I don't know how many of them are on your friends list, and a lot of times if they're not on your friends list,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it
yeah. Well, what
filters.
I'll do is that, at some point, within the next, couple of hours or so, because I do have to walk the beast, um, that I'll try and send something that doesn't reveal me to the entire world on Facebook.
Well, you already revealed yourself as a lack of exerciser.
Oh yeah, I have no problem with that.
Wait till Cliff Cundy gets down. He's gonna knock on your door tomorrow morning and says, "Hey,
Okay.
up at her."
if he does that, I'll go. I will
Yeah,
do it.
I'm sure you will.
Absolutely.
You'll be like 5 hours behind.
That's right.
Asshole! This is my truck. You'll get your cell phone up and call your wife. Like, Teresa, come pick me up. I can't do it. Coming with this morning up the road.
Yeah, if he shows up, let me tell you, I'll go running. Believe me.
I'm sure you will. I have so much faith. I'm lucky to get out anymore. I get enough of work out at the hospital.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm an old fart and I'm retired, so yeah, it takes more motivation. Thank God I have a dog that I have to walk 3 times a day, and I do. Certainly in New York City, we do a lot of walking, and I haven't owned a vehicle in probably 35, 40 years.
Neither is Jack Marks.
Yeah. So yeah, right. So at this point, yeah. It's very interesting to go, because I was actually teaching a class at Bethune at the time, and one of my students saw the announcement for his memorial,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how I found out and was able to reach out to his wife and actually be able to go to that. I tell you, he was a sweet guy, sweet, sweet guy.
Yeah, but again, what are you kids doing out here?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Seconds on lunch, seconds on dessert, my ass.
Yeah, you're not getting any seconds on dessert tonight. You got to walk the dog.
That's right. That's right. Me and Muffy.
You and Muffy.
That's right. Well, that's a tribute to Muffy. Muffy's still alive, and Muffy still needs a walk.
Mm-hmm. Russell Todd don't do any walking though. He just waits in the bushes with a slingshot.
Oh man.
I,
And the thing is that people don't realize that when those shots are set up and whatever, Kirsten was probably nowhere to be found. You know what I mean? I mean, when you look at it and it's cut together, and he's in the bushes and he's, slingshotting her ass. Probably those shorts and her ass were no one around when they shot that. And it's like it's too bad because what a set of gams, what an ass. Unbelievable. I'm sorry, Kirsten. I don't mean to be sexist, but wow, what an ass.
Kirsten, come on the show. I have a story. You taught me.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Bill, thank you so much for graciously allowing me all this time.
Well, thank you.
It was a lot of fun. I'm going to connect you with some other podcasters who would love to have you on as well, and they'll treat they'll
Fantastic.
they'll treat you well. And by the way, I love your
Okay.
background. That
Thank
is
you.
I know a lot of people like the wheelchair kill. That's actually my favorite kill right there in that movie,
Ah,
the shish kebab scene.
yeah. Not shish kebab, fuck shabab.
Fuck shabab. Fuck shabab.
That's right.
Yeah, and I'm gonna reach out to Stu, see if I could get him to come on here. I'd love to have him on.
Yeah, I gotta reach out to Stu too.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, God
My
bless you.
pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you very much.
And before I let you go, would you mind doing a plug for my show?
Sure, absolutely. What do you want me to say?
Just state your name and say you were Jeff in Friday the 13th Part 2, and say you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
Okay. So of course I'll do it like the you know uh, um, uh, Orange Heads outtakes.
Okay.
Where he messes up 17 times.
Oh, Carrot Top?
Yeah, Carrot
There you
Top,
go.
where
Okay.
he sits there. So I gotta somehow find the camera here. This is Bill Randolph from Friday the 13th, Part 2. Jeff. And I forgot the rest. Go ahead. Again, it's
Greg Gilbert on Python's
Greg Gilbert.
Paradise.
Greg Gilbert on what paradise?
Python's Paradise. Python
Python.
like the snake. Yep, I'm
Okay,
DJ
okay, okay.
Python.
Here we go. Take two. Take two. This is Bill Randolph from Friday the 13th, Part 2. I played Jeff. And this is Greg Gilbert in Python. You gotta watch it. The best podcast in the world.
Absolutely.
I
Hopefully,
messed up Python. Python what, though?
Python's Paradise. Hopefully, we can
Python.
convince Amy Steele to come on here. I haven't had her on here yet.
All right, let me do another one. Python's Paradise.
Go for it. Yeah.
This is Bill Randolph. I played Jeff in Friday the 13th, Part 2. I'm here with Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise, the best podcast ever. Watch it.
Folks, check out Dress to Kill. Check out Friday the 13th, Part 2. And check out Bill's upcoming exercise video. It'll be the best one since Jane Fonda did hers.
That's right. Me and Cliff.
Yep, Cliff needs no introduction. He drove the truck. He didn't stop because he knows how out of shape this guy is. And maybe when the it's over, we'll have Stu Chernow go, "Welcome to God's country."
Oh, please, 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 please. I would love to hear him say that again.
Thank you so much, Bill, for coming on here. This has been such a pleasure and an honor. I'm glad we were finally able to do it. And I hope I'm going to talk to the Chris Alexander and James Ponce and because he seemed very interested in Law Marie Taylor whenever I mentioned I'd interviewed her. So
Absolutely.
So I'm going to bring up a bunch of you because I've had a lot of guests who have asked me if I could help them get into cons. Unfortunately, they just see me as a podcaster, but I mean, I'm assisting Lisa at at the second one with her this fall. So I mean, I got a little bit of clout, I'd like to think. So
okay.
So I'm gonna see if I can get you guys at some cons.
Well, I'm sure that Lauren Marie and I are game anytime, any place, anywhere. Thank you, Greg.
Now, if we could just get Kirsten there with her Mickey Mouse tank top and
certainly the last time I was with Kirsten at a convention, she did have the Mickey Mouse shirt. So yes.
And La Marie said she still has the brown panties.
Oh so yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
You'll have to start bringing the hat.
Well, I do take the hat to conventions, so I do have the hat.
There you go.
Conventions.
Now I don't know what Marta could bring.
Just herself. Please just get to these conventions. That would be fantastic. Love to see her again, and love to see Stu again if he can get there too. Yes. I mean, it would be fantastic if in Los Angeles, it would be the first time that the three of us were together in 40 years. That would be fantastic.
That would be great. And then you guys can reminisce and say, Stu, why were you the smart one of the three of us who went to the after hours bar?
Yeah, well, that's obvious. He was always smarter than either of us combined.
He went to the after hours bar.
That's right.
Yeah. Anyway, Bill, I'm going to let you go walk the dog and tell your wife if she wants to come on here. I'd love to have her on. I think that would be a story in itself.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Absolutely. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Yes, you too. God bless you, and be safe, be healthy, be happy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You take care, man.